Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast with your host, hailing from Kaukauna, Wisconsin, riding a CST tires, SSI decals, Valvoline backed Yamaha YFC 450R, four-time ATV motocross national champion, number 25, Cody Jansen.
What's up, everybody?
We're back.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, episode 165 of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, CST Tires, in stock and available for purchase today at shop.csttires.com. I'm your host, Cody Jansen, saying hello to our more than 287,000 monthly Digging Deep listeners in 122 countries in which you are listening, and this is our Briarcliff season finale review episode of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. Legendary riders calling it a career, one even with a walk-off win, an undefeated season spoiled at the 11th hour, a sixth title for one of ATV racing's Mount Rushmore greats, the wildest pro-am and pro sport racing you could ever imagine, a championship showdown in the WMX class, oh yeah, and let's not forget the International Cup. And I was in the announcer's tower for it all. I saw everything. Tears of joy, raw emotion, unforgettable moments. There's so much to cover and no time to waste, so let's dive right in. But first, let's quickly shout out all of our incredible partners. CST Tires, go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Thanks to SSI Decals, Valvoline, DID Racing Chain, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, DP Brakes, Impact Solutions, Ultimate Poly Products, UPB Racing, our choice when it comes to case savers, chain sliders, intake manifolds, and more. Use discount code DiggingDeep15 at uppracing.com and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Whether it's the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, the GOAT of electric razor trimmers, my personal favorite, the Beard Hedger Pro Kit from Manscaped, or the best nose hair trimmer ever created, the Weed Whacker 2.0, get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Support all the great companies that support us, and for any products that fall through the cracks, click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out. It's absolutely that time of year. You and your machine both need a little TLC. No matter what off-road gear parts you need, Rocky Mountain ATVMC has you covered. But before you buy, simply click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website. By using our specific link, we get a percentage of what you buy on the back end, enabling you to help us out while purchasing the parts you need anyway. And did you know you can buy OEM parts from Rocky Mountain ATVMC as well? Yep, shipped conveniently right to your door. So click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner at diggingdeepatvmx.com to help us out while satisfying all your gear and parts needs. Shout out to all of our donors all season long. And if you are interested in donating and hearing your name on the show, you can find the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee donation links on our website. Major thanks to all who have donated, of course. Now, if you can't donate, but you still want to help us out, you can leave us a rating or a review in iTunes and Spotify, because that helps us out a bunch too. Now, it's showtime. The 30-second board is up. It's sideways and the gate is down. Time to dig deep.
Let's go!
All right, guys, back here for yet another race review podcast, highly anticipated Briarcliff season finale podcast here at the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. And just before we hit record on this thing, I told both Billy Cottage and Brian Jenkins that I feel like we've had a good thing going these last handful of races, reviewing these races together. It's been awesome with these guys. And I felt like this was the only way to end the season, was getting the band back together and doing it one more time. So right off the rip, thanks to those two guys for making it happen. I felt like that was the way that we had to end this thing. So I can't remember a more highly anticipated season finale. I know 2019, I think it would have been the year that we ended with the bikes at Ironman. That was a pretty big deal. But with everything going on at Briarcliff, with the potential second undefeated season for Joel Hattrick, the wrapping up of a title for him, the fact that it was a triple crown, Chad Wienen, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Nick Janusa, all calling it careers after this race, the International Cup, the WMX battle, all the stuff going on. I can't remember a more highly anticipated season finale. Like I said, we got Billy Cottage and Brian Jenkins joining me for this round 10 race review show. And I'll let both of these guys jump in here and let me know if they remember more highly anticipated season finale and what they were most looking forward to here at Briarcliff. So Billy, perfect weather, perfect track, perfect weekend at the end of it from a spectator standpoint. What were you looking forward to most going in?
Man, there was a lot. Like you said, I think probably the thing I was looking forward to the most was obviously the Pro Triple Crown. I was really looking forward to seeing if Joel could do it again, and also to see Chad, Jeffrey, and Nick off safe and everybody have fun and some good motos for them guys too.
Yeah. And not to be a spoiler, I mean, especially with the online coverage, with the live streaming and stuff, so many people got to watch it all play out, which was amazing. And the crowd was huge and it was great, but everything lived up to the hype is how it felt. Like, it was just awesome. So Brian, I'll let you jump in there too. I know we were all looking forward to so much. What were you looking forward to the most?
The whole weekend, just everything that was coming in. I felt like it was almost overload of influx of different things happening with, of course, everybody knows I'm deeply connected to WMX. So that was, on my radar in a big way, that I was hoping that it would be the race that we all wanted, if that sounds right. Because, I'm super appreciative of Emma coming over here, and, it kind of bummed me out a little bit that, maybe she had dealt with a little bit of fanfare and a non-welcoming way, because what she did by coming over here was a huge help. And I know that it just pushed that class to the forefront, even more so than what it has. And I was very appreciative of that. And I wanted her to know that, and that anticipation and build up of that race, even though we know it Kinsey's home track. I was really into that, and I was hoping that it was the race that we all expected. And then, of course, all the injured riders, that was on my mind, and I was kind of worried about them. And we hadn't gotten, a bunch of updates other than Bryce at that point. Right. We started getting some from JJ, and I was just concerned and worried about them. And then plus the guys retiring, it was just so much going on all at once that I wanted it to be, obviously we're never going to top the Legends race. I don't think that's, ever going to happen. Right. But I just wanted it to be an event and a show that, obviously would do our sport proud, would do Jeremy proud, people showing up and seeing it. And I think the International Cup was great. Mm-hmm. I was very happy to see those guys jump in the pro ranks and run with them, besides the International Cup as well. And I was happy to see all of that. And not to mention, for Jeremy and his mental health, thank God we had, we brought it up last time, but we really, I didn't want to say it. We all kind of looked at each other when I did it, but I was like, that factor, what if, and thank goodness we had the correct weather for that weekend. It was perfect all weekend long. Maybe Jeremy thought it was too hot because he had to water and do some things that, maybe he wouldn't have had to if it was cloudy, but I thought it was a great weekend, and I was super proud of him for everything he accomplished and what he put together, and what we got to experience is, racers, fans, and just, huge fans of the sport altogether.
Yeah, and you nailed it. It was so good. The weather was so perfect. Jeremy, and I think I said this at one point on the microphone, that he was dealt, the Osborne family, Briarcliff, was dealt the very difficult task of trying to follow up their Briarcliff Legends race from last year. And given that you're not going to have another Legends race, at least not right now, obviously, they did the best job that they possibly could to make it everything that it could possibly be and more. And Jeremy does such a good job. And we talked about this on a preview show, but he does such a good job of having so many activities and got stuff going on for the kids and just all these things, let alone all the stuff going on track. So absolutely amazing. What a great host he is, and Briarcliff is for a finale too. I mean, and I've made this very clear on previous episodes. Like, I hate not having Loretta's just because it's Loretta's, but Briarcliff and Jeremy, I can't think of a better place to have the finale other than Loretta's then, because he truly makes it something special. I mean, Jeremy, there will never just be a cookie cutter standard national at Briarcliff. Like, he's made it out to be the ATV racing capital of the world. And I truly believe that. So what a perfect weekend. Like you guys talked about, it was awesome. And right off the rip, I mean, there was so many stories to follow, and the pro class was, I mean, it goes without saying, but it was the race of the year for sure. I mean, we were kind of targeting all year long that, it's going to be interesting to have a triple crown at the finale. And it really lived up to the hype. And it's almost like at the end of those three motos, you still wanted more. So, qualifying was, I don't want to say status quo, but, we kind of say that every week because Joel's at the top. Kevin Saar was amazing. I mean, second fastest for Kevin Saar was absolutely incredible. Chad Wienen looked racy right from the rip because we haven't seen him top three in qualifying a ton. So him being top three was special. And him and Joel were actually taking swings at each other at the beginning of qualifying. And then Brandon Hogue and Bryce Ford rounding out the top five is fitting, though. It's probably easy 2 weeks removed now, basically from the event, to forget what Bryce had going on coming in with collapsed lungs and everything going on the weekend prior. I mean, Brian talked about the injured riders, us obviously losing Wesley Wolf. We lost Jaden Launderville and then Bryce Ford as well. And, nobody knows. I mean, I think we heard some rumors that Bryce was going to be racing or whatever, didn't really know how that was all going to play out. He kind of held his, cards close to the vest a little bit and most of qualifying, but towards the end, he wicked it up a little bit and put himself in the top five. I think he was top three fastest at one point. And yeah, he showed that he was going to be racy for the motos to come, but full gate of guys. I mean, 19 riders, I think, in this one, even though we had those guys missing, which was incredible. And yeah, like I said, the times were really close throughout, and those guys being in the top five, is kind of your standard crew. But Kevin Saar, International Cup weekend, Kevin Saar was looking fast right off the rip. And then, like I said, Chad Wienen, he made it very clear this was going to be at least his last time as a full-time ATV motocross racing professional athlete. He looked freaking as game as ever right from qualifying. At least that's the way it looked to me. Billy, I'll let you jump in there.
Yeah, I was pumped on the qualifying. I was pumped for Kevin because he looked flawless, especially, what was it, 2 weekends before or something, I saw him at the Bartosik race, and he looked really good there, and he seemed very comfortable going into it. But Chad, after qualifying, I went over to the trailer, and he just had a big smile on his face, and he was like, I got some gas for them boys this weekend. And I was like, good for you, dude. And he was just like, you could tell he was just having fun, which I think that's the most important thing for that weekend for him, going out like that. And I think it made it even better for him to be as competitive as he was. It pumped him up even more. So,
and here's the deal is Chad hasn't been that good at Briarcliff over the years. He hasn't been that good there. I mean, like, stuck in my mind is him having a really hard time with Max Lindquist a few years ago, and Max finishing second in a moto there, and like that being really hard to wrap my head around at the time. So like, I didn't know, like, obviously we all, at least me, I can speak from my end and people in my crew, like nobody was cheering against the undefeated season happening for Joel, but like, man, to have a swan song, dreamlike storybook end for Chad, I'm like, I don't know if Briarcliff is the right place. But yeah, but he was game right from the rip. What about you, Brian? What were your thoughts after qualifying?
You know what? I'm thinking back, and I don't know. I don't want to say I disagree with you, but I remember Chad maybe not getting the best starts there, but okay. Chad was always fast there. Like, I remember him pushing Natalie off the track way back in the day and coming through and winning. Like, I just remember him, not not being out front at first, but always working his way there and just being super consistent and fast. And I felt like coming into this race that, especially since he was a little bit more racy at Pleasure, and I seen those moments of where he had fight. Like, I heard his interview, and I heard what he said, and it made sense. And then I was paying attention a lot, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. He kind of would go wide or kind of hesitate where it wasn't Chad-like, that we've all seen for so many years. Mm-hmm. So I got it. And then when I seen him at Briarcliff, I was like, yeah, he's out to show some boys something. Like, if he's going out, he's going out on his terms. And one other thing too, that I kind of felt like it was strategic. Let's face it. I'm not trying to start anything or, make anybody second guess things. But when he went on the inside of Joel off that start, I was like, okay, if he gets a good enough start, he's not letting off. Like, he's going to take it straight to the berm. And sure enough, like, I felt like that, was kind of what caused everybody's turning. Like, we've all had those races where you're out there and you're going and you got somebody on the inside of you and you're like, okay, you can turn any moment now, and they don't. Mm-hmm. I felt like that was strategic. He was going for it, and I mean, good for him. It's his last race, and like you said, I don't think anybody was rooting for anything bad to happen to Joel. I know some people always want to, wish that it was a better race or more challenging, but I never want to see somebody lose, like, especially the streak and everything that he had going on by a tangle up. For them to get going, having some bumping or whatever, and then get going, that's cool. But I felt horrible for those guys to get tangled like what they did that first moto. And then, Joel to be riding with a Nerf bar that's in his calf and pushing his foot forward the entire time. So that was rough to see.
Yeah, Brian. So you're jumping right to Moto 1 there, and that's perfect because you're exactly right. The start of Moto 1, and again, I'm announcing for this race. So like, I watch these guys go into the first corner. I see Chad is right up front. I see Bryce is right there too. And then instantly, like, my mind goes to, where's Joel? Because, we know it's a shorter moto. He's not right up front. I could tell that much. And for him to not be right there, I'm like, my antenna goes up. I'm like, something is wrong. And I look to the first corner, there's somebody stuck there, and it's kind of like behind some tree branches or whatever might have been there from my vantage point. And I start to see it's Joel. And I'm like, oh, like, all the wind, it's almost like it just doesn't feel right, because just like you're saying, it doesn't feel like a streak should end that way. It doesn't feel like that should be what ends as gnarly of a streak as maybe we've ever seen in our sport. So I do hate to see that. And I kind of said to my family, like, in two-wheeled and four-wheeled motocross, we all know about the streaks of, Ricky Carmichael's undefeated seasons and James and some of those streaks that we've seen over the years in motocross. And I've never seen one end at a finale before. Like, you've always thought of, what if, but it's never really happened. And for so many series at the finale, people just kind of, it's almost like you're kind of checked out, you kind of pack it in. And that was surely not the case. You're now, the other thing, and we've been angling, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit already. We had kind of been talking about that the finale being a triple crown made things extra interesting. And the fact that it was a triple crown makes things, it's almost like, and I've been calling it all year, it's like the Joel Hetrick rule. The triple crown is almost, I don't know if triple crowns would exist in ATV motocross if Joel wasn't as dominant as he is. But that being said, and I said this to a few people after the race weekend or as the weekend unfolded, Triple Crown had nothing to do with what happened to Joel Hetrick. It was a fluke, or whatever you want to call it. It was a first turn incident, and that was that. It had nothing to do with the Triple Crown. So yeah, that first lap was crazy, because then instantly you're thinking, okay, Triple Crown, Joel, as far as overalls go, if everything gets back to status quo, like, he'll be okay. but the odds are is he's not going to win this overall. And because he was a long way back. And like you said, Brian, his quad was messed up. I watched him go off the track a couple times. Like Joel was, credit to him for getting all the way up to 8th. That's insane. But yeah, the math on the very first lap of the very first moto of this Triple Crown at the season finale, you're like, okay, like streak is likely going to be over and somebody else is going to have the opportunity to win today. And Chad Wienen is in the lead. And Billy, I'll let you jump in there, but instantly I'm like, okay, storybook ending is right here for the taking now.
It was a perfect storybook ending for Chad. And the Triple Crown had nothing to do with it. But at the same time, even with that messed up quad, given by the lap times, if it was a longer moto, things might have been different, because I know at one point in the pack, he was like 3 seconds a lap faster.
That's a light year. Yeah, you're exactly right, Brian. I'll let you jump in there too. And I guess that part I wasn't taking into consideration, saying that the Triple Crown did affect it. I more meant like,
yeah, somebody else getting the start and him not being able to pass or something.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not like that part. But again, in my mind, you have to line up 3 different times. That part is definitely a hurdle. But yeah, it's interesting how that all played out. Brian, I'll let you jump in there.
It was crazy because there was a lot going on there. Like I'm looking back and forth, watching what's happening, because so Joel and Kevin were locked together. Like they sat, like obviously, as a racer, things slow down in your mind and you feel like it's taken forever, and it's really not sometimes. And I felt like that was kind of what was going on. They seemed like they were together forever. And even once they got apart, I seen Joel and somebody else was like pulling on his Nerf bar and I didn't know what exactly was wrong, because obviously they're at the end of the straight. I can only see the scuffling around of what's going on. And then I'm looking to the front and I see Bryce and Chad literally banging off each other. Yeah. And I'm like, holy cow, I thought Bryce was hurt. What is going on here? Like he literally, pushed Chad out of the way, and then Chad's pushing him back. And I thought, this is awesome. This is great. These guys know something's up, and they're running like with everything they have to get away, because they know that, right now, Joel's not out there. This is the time to make the charge and put the time in so that hopefully he doesn't catch up, because an angry Joel's probably putting in those laps that we've all said he's got more in the tank. He's got more speed. Well, I think that we were seeing some of it, but I don't think he could ride the quad the way he wanted to because he couldn't even position himself the way he wanted because of how that Nerf bar and like possibly the foot peg was. I didn't get to see it, but I heard it was really bad.
I heard it was bad too. Yeah.
But yeah, the racing was intense. It was like everybody was like, okay, Joel's not up here. We got to go. And they were all like just nose to tail. And it was a dogfight, and I like the split lanes because it caused more turmoil, guys going inside, outside, and guys jumping across in front of each other. And I was just like, wow, this is intense. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's as good as it gets.
That was great racing.
And you point out a great fact that Bryce too, at the beginning, you're thinking this could be Bryce's day. Like we didn't know where his health was at. And in my mind, I mean, the one thing we did know is that he was only a week removed from that big injury, being in the hospital, all that stuff. So I'm like, in my mind, and I said this to Izza and the Harrises later in the day, I'm like, eventually it was going to catch up with him. But his opening laps of Moto 1, he didn't look like a guy that thought it was going to catch up with him. Did you see anybody see the hand gestures he was making behind Chad? He's like, okay, come to me. Like that was awesome.
There was only 2 things that ran through my mind when I seen that. I was like, okay, number one, I've had a punctured lung and I couldn't even talk, let alone think about going out and riding because I couldn't pressurize, and I'm thinking, okay, either he's like, he was hurt and the adrenaline's pumping and he's just right now it's not a factor and it's going to hit him about 3 or 4 laps in and we're going to watch him fade to the back and he's going to realize that he's not indestructible and superhuman, or he was playing his cards close to his chest and he wasn't as bad as what he let on. Right. And he was going to come out there with something to prove. And the first few laps, I was thinking it was the later, like, I think he's playing with Chad.
I know. I thought the same thing for a minute.
Yeah. He, like you said, he was he was doing his Bryce thing. He was looking back over his shoulder. He was open to all comers, come swinging. I got this.
He looked like
this is gonna be a hell of a day.
He looked like a guy who had it was like waiting on Chad, he's like, okay, I'm going to get you eventually. That's how it looked in those opening laps.
I thought he was toying with them.
I did too. Yep. I did too for a minute. So it does catch up with them. But what an effort from Bryce, man. I can't say enough about it. 2 collapsed lungs and punctures and all that stuff, all busted up. Like I said, staying in the hospital overnight to see what he did in that opening moto and then to survive the entire day was a really, really big thing. The one thing I didn't mention so far, Brandon Hogue, something happens on the sight lap. He's sitting on the line. Like we see him standing there without his quad, doesn't end up getting out there. Heartbreaker for Brandon Hogue. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that here in this first moto because he was a guy obviously that was hoping for some big things to end the season, try to get probably the taste of what was a kind of a lost season for him out of his mouth. So that was unfortunate there. But the biggest takeaway from this first moto for sure, I mean, Chad Wienen is going to go on to win decisively. He has an awesome moto. Like I said already, Joel gets up to 8th, which was an incredible ride on his part. But the fact that at a day where going at the start of this moto, as they're on their sight lap, they held the 3 guys that were calling it a career on this day. They held them out till the very end. Obviously, Chad Wienen, Jeffrey Rastrelli, and Nick Janusa. And right from the jump in this first moto, those 3 guys were all right at the front, and that stayed that way all the way to the finish. And 3 of the 4, so the top 4 was made up. 3 of those guys were made up of the guys that were calling it a career, with Chad Wienen taking the win, Jeffrey Rastrelli with a hell of a ride finishing second in that first moto. And then Max Link was 3rd, Nick Janusa finishing 4th. I just thought, what a cool freaking thing. What a cool lineup that those guys were. I think their biggest thing is they all wanted to be relevant on their final day. I mean, basically all 3 riders said as much. And that's exactly what we saw in this moto. And I was actually when we were in the booth in the tower, Mr. Janusa was up there. Nick Janusa's dad was up there. And just like, it was just awesome. Like I was seeing the emotions. I talked to Nick earlier in the day. Obviously we had Chad and Jeffrey on the show leading up to the race. Just there was 2 motos to go, but what a perfect start to the final day for those 3 guys. That was the biggest thing for me. That was so special. Billy, I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, it was very cool seeing them up there and them all having a good ride. I was pumped for all 3 of them. And it was cool after the moto seeing, and I think probably Big Jeff was probably the happiest person in all the pits at that moment. He was so pumped. And like you said about seeing Mr. Janusa and the emotion, I saw it from Big Jeff, and that was really, really cool. I was really happy for them for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about you, Brian?
When I seen that, I was very happy for those guys. You couldn't write a better ending, to sit down and, we've all been hearing about it. We've been talking about it. We knew what was coming. And, I got to talk with Jeffrey, I think it was on Friday, and, and all these guys are great. There are people that we've all, watched and looked up to and have befriended over the years. And it was heartbreaking to watch, but at the same time, it was very satisfying for me that they were doing so well. Like I wanted them all to do very well and feel like, they went out on top. Because they are relevant. They're a huge staple to the sport. They have been for years, each and every one of them. Chad, I was just watching, you posted some of the, Digging Deep, like the old WPSA footage. Mm-hmm. And do you know the Field of Dreams?
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
I think it was Oswell, PA. The race,
the season finale,
where Chad came back and passed John. I think it was the last lap. Mm-hmm. Chad came off the track, was exhausted and everything. And it was funny because I had asked Chad earlier in the year for a jersey. He was all exhausted. He had taken his jersey off because it was hot, super hot that day. And I'm riding by and I'm like, giving the thumbs up. Michelle and I's on a little 90 and he's like, whoa, wait. And he walked over, he wiped himself off with his jersey and he handed it to me. I have that jersey. So all of these guys, they're just, they're legends. And they're all special. And the memories that I think we all have individually and can take from what those guys have done and accomplished and meant to us and given us will live on well beyond the years of what's going on right now in the ATV industry.
So I've said to Chad a few times, I've said to Chad probably as long as I've had the show, that like, he's always been a guy that I've cheered for. He's always been like one of my favorites ever because of the story, because he was just like any of us. He was just like anybody listening to the show right now. He was just a nobody, and he spoke it into existence. He convinced himself that he was going to make this thing happen. And there was a time where he was a mid-pack pro, and we all remember that because we were around back then. Prior to that 2007 season, 2006, 2005, he was a mid-pack pro and had some flashes. And if you would have told that guy back then that in 2025, he was going to win he was going to race until 2025, and he was going to win his, 67th overall in his farewell, his very last race as a pro. I mean, can you imagine? Like, it doesn't even feel like, you say it like that, it doesn't even sound real. It's like a Disney movie,
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just you can't even really put it into perspective, like all the greatness and the great runs. And Brian, you mentioned earlier, so obviously I just spoiled. I mean, everybody knows this that's listening to this, but Chad's going to go on to win the overall on this day. And Jeremy, posts after the weekend, he thought it was so fitting because Jeremy's first national 2014, Chad won that one too. And it's like, there was just so many parallels on this day. And it's such a cool story. And it was so awesome. And it just doesn't get any better than that.
That's why I told you, I was like, I don't remember Chad doing bad at Briarcliff. I remember him winning the inaugural race and being super pumped because he came through. And those guys tested the track, and, it was a cool story. And that's why it was so special. I always felt that same way. Like, Chad was one of us, not that all of them weren't, but Chad was like the guy that literally beating the odds.
Yeah.
That's literally where it came from. He was one of us. He was welding on his bike. He was in the pits with us. It was nothing special. Nothing was handed to him. He was broke like we were, you know what I mean? So like, that was special because I felt like that gave us all hope that we can all accomplish something ourselves, because look at this kid, look what he did.
You think about it even now, like nobody shows up, like nobody's and I shouldn't say nobody, but I don't even know of any stories of any guys in recent years that were pros where they just were on big bikes and all of a sudden they found some speed and they went pro, and let alone then being awesome, so the story is just one in a million. And that's why, I mean, I've said as much, so everybody knows this by now, but that's where Digging Deep started. I wanted to tell Chad's story because I thought everybody forgot about it, and he's just got a story like none other. And so just to end it, the way that it goes on to end, he wins this first moto. He's going to end up winning the overall eventually. It was just freaking awesome. So Chad wins that first moto. Jeffrey finishes second, which was amazing. Max finishes third. Nick Janusa, like we said, finishes fourth. Mason Jackson rounds out the top five. Bryce Ford hangs on for sixth. Zach Decker, seventh. Joel Hetrick gets up to eighth, like we talked about. Adam Ulrich, spoiler for him, he has an awesome day. He finishes ninth in this moto. And Kevin Saar ends up rounding out the top 10 in that first moto of action. So jumping to Moto 2, I think, Brian, you already used the words that I was going to use for this. Angry Joel Hetrick is what we saw for the rest of the day. It was angry Joel Hetrick right from the jump in this second moto. Really interesting on the start. And I pointed this out when I was, kind of outlining things ahead of the moto. Really interesting what we're going to see in that first corner, because Joel Hetrick was on the outside, and that outside obviously is packed in because that's part of the racetrack here. So kind of interesting to see how that was all going to play out. He ends up getting a pretty good start. Does have to go around Chad Wienen. They bumped some tires at one point, and I don't think Joel was stoked about it because we saw the hand gestures of old Joel were back, and he was fired up, it seemed like, after the moto and the whole deal. deal. So I don't know what all that was about, but yeah, things were dicey a little bit there at the start. Chad put himself in great position early. Spoiler for him, he finishes second in this moto. Joel goes on to win, but it was the story of an angry Joel Hetrick in this second moto here.
So I had heard that Joel was not happy, and I made sure that I was right at the fence line for Moto 2 because I knew there could be the possibility of some interesting things going on. Not just with Joel, but I heard there was some other riders that had words, and there was some beefs being settled on the track. So yeah, I wanted to see what was going on, and I was watching that pretty closely, and I felt like Bryce was playing with Chad in Moto 1. I felt like Joel was playing with Chad in Moto 2 and was just letting him know that, I'm the guy. I'm going to pass you where I want, when I want. And, Chad had something for him that he wasn't going to give it up. But, we all know Joel's just, he finds spots where nobody else has or is capable of. And the 2 for, Pleasure Valley around the outside, we know he's capable of things that really not a lot of people are. So I knew it was inevitable. I was just waiting to see how much anger came out before that happened. And then once he did, it was kind of weird because it was like he just kind of settled there for a second.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, he's still working some issues out in his head. Like, swing back if you want, we can play, or if not, I'm just going to check out. And it ended up, he just kind of rode away off into the sunset after that. But the battle behind him was great. There was battles all over. One thing I do want to say, you had brought up Adam. I thought Adam rode great. I thought Mason rode great. Yep. Max rode phenomenal. Max looked like that Max that we had seen in years past, that he just had something extra. He had the dog in him that day. He looked super smooth. So I was really impressed with his riding and what he was doing, not to mention all of them. Those guys were nose to tail. And like I said, the split lanes were great. I know that some were legitimately faster than the others, the way that they developed, but it made for great racing all day. Cause those guys, they were literally taking shots at each other, those first, 4 or 5 laps hard.
Oh yeah. There's a lot going on there. Like you, I knew that Joel was going to be fired up, and I knew some other people were fired up too. Joel, like I said, the hand gestures were back and some of those things. And I was like, okay, we haven't seen that in a little while. And obviously Joel, you're going to be fired up after, undefeated season is now spoiled. It's 2 years in the making and just so close to the finish line on back-to-back undefeated seasons, all those things. But at the same time, I'm thinking, Joel, everybody knows you're the fastest guy. like nobody ever doubted that, but Chad definitely didn't give it to him. And at the same time, I felt like Chad was like, okay, I'm not going to fight you for it. Like I'm in great position here. I'm not going to jeopardize, what I have going on lined up for my last day of racing. Billy, how did you see it? There was a lot going on, especially that first lap. And we haven't seen this on the season at all. I mean, somebody brought this up to me later in the day and I'm like, okay, but we haven't really seen any of that this year, but there was Bryce Ford and Brandon Hogue drama at the early stages of Moto 2. There was a lot going on. What did you see at the start of this thing?
There was a lot of drama, and honestly, I'm here for it because like we need some drama. I enjoyed it, but it was kind of funny, like you said, how once Joel got by, he kind of settled in there, and I don't know why or what had happened, or if he was wanting more of a fight, or who knows? I
think he was looking for confrontation, to be honest.
It was. Like, yes. Yeah. It kind of went as we all thought it would at that point. And Chad, you could tell it was kind of like just get away from me thing kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Like, I don't want, like, go, please go. And like you said, he didn't for a minute. So I was trying to figure out what was going on. Did anybody see Joel in the last couple of days post that on his story? He posted that gorilla and he's like this to the crowd of people at the zoo. And he's like, this is me after Moto 1 at Briarcliff.
I didn't see that.
Oh, it's classic. For the people that can't see us on the video here, that's angry gorilla flipping the bird to the crowd at the zoo, just straight faced. And Joel said that was what he was feeling after Moto 1 there, heading into Moto 2 and 3. And again, predictable, because we saw angry Joel in this one. It was angry Joel for the rest of the day. How about two other guys that in like you said, Brian, and I think we'll kind of brief on everybody, all these really good rides at the end of this thing. But in this moto, Zach Decker finishing third and pressuring Chad. And it was like, whoa, like we've seen really good rides in recent weeks from Zach. And then to have this top 3 ride again here, it was like, whoa, was that impressive? Was really impressed with him. And then we saw Nick Janusa in the top 5 again, and Max Lindquist in the top 5 again, but another good ride for Nick Janusa as well. And his, like I said, his farewell day full-time ATV Pro motocross, really impressed by Zach Decker, Max Lindquist again, and Nick Janusa in this Moto 2.
I was pumped, to see Zach up there. And like you guys had talked about Max as well, that's kind of what I expected from those two guys all year, to see both of them riding the way they were. It was cool. And I think they both needed it. You know what I mean? They do. And the season, riding good, it'll help them going into next year, I'm sure.
Well, and Brian touched on this already, but for whatever reason, since he's been a rookie, Max Lindquist late in the season, absolutely fire. And he's proven. And with him and Chad, I don't ever think of like hard pack tracks as those. That's just not where they shine the very most. But Max Lindquist in particular has been amazing at Briarcliff. He's just been awesome there every single year. Brian, I'll let you jump in there, but I knew Max was, and I think I put Max on my team. I think a ton of people did, our fantasy teams, but Max was fire all day. And again, in this moto, he put himself in really good position with another top 5 finish in that second moto.
He was riding very smart. I think that he has a good presence of what's going on, like on the track, because he was picking very good lines, the split lanes, and the lines he was taking, I was watching. And there was a few times that, he took one that I didn't expect him to, but there was a reason. Like every time he did that, there was a reason. He was riding very smart. Like I said, I was really impressed with him. And I do want to point out something else too. Zach Decker, not only did he ride great that moto and did not let Chad get away, but I want to point out, I think that Moto 1, he would have also been there had Joel and Kevin been able to turn in and make that turn. That was Zach that came from the outside, and he had no place to go. And he was coming with momentum, like he was on fire. So I think he'd have been up front Moto 1 too, had that little hookup not happened right in front of him and blocked his progression that he had to go on off the track. That excursion really hurt him with that finish there. But yeah, Moto 2, he rode like he did at Pleasure Valley. Like he was on fire. He wasn't letting Chad get away. He was keeping him honest. And I mean, he was making moves. Like he was, I felt like he had closed the gap at times and then he fell back a little bit. So like, I knew that he was trying because he just wasn't following the path, and following right in Chad's tire marks. He was trying different things and he was charging the entire time. So, I thought that might end up being a race towards the end of the moto. He was riding so strong.
Yeah, I think about these guys, and he's a young enough pro. He's a young enough guy where I'm like, what it must be like mentally, because it's not like he's been Chad's speed all year long, not at every race. He's been really good of late. But when you come on this moto and you're pressuring Chad and you're running with Chad and you're like, sticking a tire in there, I'm like, man, mentally, what that must be like to just, like, okay, I'm going with Chad here. Yep, I got his speed. Okay, like we're just going and finishing top 3 in the moto. Again, awesome for him. We'll get right back to the show But now, a word from our sponsors. And thank you for listening to these ads. Without these great companies, none of this would be possible. Show your support for the people who support us. The official tire choice of Digging Deep, CST tires are the choice of ATV racing's elite on the track, in the woods, and every other terrain. CST tires swept the ATV racing world in 2022 as Joel Hetrick, Bryson Neal, and Bo Barron rode their Pulse MXR and Pulse HT tires to an ATV Pro Motocross title, GNCC XC1 Pro title, and 10th ATV Pro Works Racing title, respectively. Led by champion Joel Hetrick and podium contenders Bryce Ford, Jeffrey Rastrelli, and Nick Janusa, CST's Pulse MXR tire is the most trusted tire in ATV motocross today. Available in soft and standard compounds, the Pulse MXR offers the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. And did I mention they have a contingency program as well? Visit shop.csttires.com to join the CST takeover today, or prepare to be beat by someone who did. The best of the best choose CST. Do you? You know we're Team Blue Crew here at the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, as the Yamaha YFZ450R is the official ATV of Digging Deep. In a move started by 8-time ATVMX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, who with his next championship will become the winningest champion in ATV motocross history, we are living in ATV racing's YFZ450R era. Alongside Wienen, 7-time GNCC XC1 Pro ATV National Champion Walker Fowler welcomed a pair of new champions to the Yamaha Champions Club, as the podium-proven Yamaha YFZ450R proved to be the winning choice for Joel Hetrick and Bryson Neal. This unprecedented success for the YFZ450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the clear fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has resulted in a complete Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Evident by the continuation of Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program, Yamaha riders will once again cash in on payout and prize opportunities in 2023, including a chance to win a brand new YFZ450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com. Follow Yamaha Outdoors, as well as the new Blue Crew official channel on social media, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. SSI Decals, your way. SSI Decals sets the standard with the best looking decals, graphics kits, and vinyl wraps in the industry. Established in 1947, SSI took shape as an offshoot of their parent company by doing a little work for local pro Chad Wienen. Nearly 2 decades later, and fueled by a passion for ATVs, the company has flourished into one of ATV Moto's most recognized brands. From ATV motocross, SSI has expanded into graphics and design work for top racers in GNCC, Works Racing, Pro Motocross and Supercross, off-road, and more, headlined by 8-time world champion top fuel drag racer Clay Milliken. Whether your project is big or small, SSI Decals will make your identity stick. Get started today at SSIDecals.com and use code DIGGINGDEEP10 for 10% off at checkout. Things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast is brought to you in part by DID and their wide range of championship-winning chains. From the street to the track and everywhere in between, DID chains are designed to give you the optimal riding experience with great performance and increased chain life. Consistent to the core, pick up your box of reliability today. DID, what drives you? For over 150 years, Valvoline has been dedicated to constant improvement and innovation across all disciplines of racing. As a proud member of Team Valvoline for nearly a decade, I have witnessed their unwavering commitment to pushing the boundaries of performance. Valvoline has sponsored some of the greatest names in motorsports, solidifying their position as a powerhouse within the industry. Being a part of this historically great team has been an incredible privilege. When it comes to my equipment, whether it's my daily commuting vehicles, race quads, or anything in between, I trust nothing but Valvoline. Their range of products and lubricants consistently deliver increased horsepower, durability, and engine life. I'm excited to announce Valvoline's breakthrough in performance, Valvoline Ultimate Power Sports. With up to 8 times stronger rust protection and 50% better wear protection, this cutting-edge formula ensures your ATV's engine runs smoother and longer for the ultimate ride. Tackle rugged terrains with confidence, knowing your ATV's engine is equipped with the best protection available. Ready to experience the next level of performance? Head over to shop.valvolineglobal.com and use code DIGGINGDEEP10 at checkout to unlock an exclusive 10% off on your purchase. Don't miss out on this limited time offer to enhance your ATV's performance with Valvoline's Ultimate Power Sports engine oil. Joel Hetrick rights a little bit of the wrong of the first moto. He gets back on the winning track in that second moto, taking the Moto 2 win. Chad Wienen now in impeccable position with 1-2 scores going into that third moto, second in this one. Zach Decker third. Max Lindquist looking really good for a podium in fourth. Nick Janusa rounds out the top five. Kevin Saar sixth. Mason Jackson seventh. Jeffrey Rastrelli not as good in this one, looking at eighth. In this moto, Adam Ulrich again ninth, awesome run for him in this one as well. Joey Norris, the AMA ATV Pro Rookie of the Year, rounding out the top 10. Moto 3. So Joel Hetrick, angry Joel Hetrick continues. He ends the season with another W in Moto 3. It's going to be just a one moto blemish on this, what would have been a second undefeated season. So it was very, 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 very close to happening. Just one moto short, affected by that first corner melee in Moto 1. In Moto 2, there was a lot of focus in the Chad Wienen area, at least for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, targeting, this overall for him, but sneakily Brandon Hogue racing up through the pack, finishing second in this moto. We had angry Joel Hetrick for this day. We had angry Brandon Hogue in this moto because Moto 1, he didn't get to ride. Moto 2, him and Bryce tangle on the opening lap. So that moto was shit. And, Moto 3, he had all that built up aggression, that built up, fuel, I guess. And he uncorks it and lets it all out in Moto 3, Billy, because we saw Brandon Hogue finish P2 in the third moto of this day, the final moto of the season. And it wasn't the race day he wanted to end on, but I would hope that he found a little positivity in ending the season with a good runner-up moto finish at Briarcliff, because he showed people what he's capable of on that JH machine. And I think there's at least a chance. I know nothing's decided for sure, but I think there's a chance he's back on that ride next year, and kind of hope that he does, because I think that could be a really solid place for him to land full time.
That wasn't a first and second moto built up of anger. That was a whole season.
You're right.
For Brandon, because the kid just, can't buy luck. And I do really like seeing him on that JH machine. Johnny got them bikes working good, as we all know. Wesley was riding really good on that bike and stuff. And I would like to see that combo next year, because I think that's a good program, I think, for Brandon to be on. And between how good the bike is and how good we know Brandon can be, I think that's a step in the right direction for him for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It was, again, a guy that I cheer for, a guy we help as much as we possibly can, the little bit that we can. I was bummed for him on the day playing out the way that it did, but I was happy at least he got on the right track to end his season there. But like I kind of said, we were all watching where Chad was at. And I guess I kind of say that because Brandon's in the mix in this moto. Mason Jackson was freaking flying. He ends up third in this one. Chad is fourth. Max Lindquist ends up fifth in this moto, but they were like, that pack of guys were as competitive as could be. Max Lindquist is giving Chad all he can freaking handle for like the whole second half of this final moto. And we're in the tower and eScore isn't working. And I don't know if it's like a Triple Crown thing. So like the system wouldn't do the math, but I'm like saying to Rodney, I'm like, so did Chad get it? Like, did he, like, in my mind, I'm like, he should have got it by a couple points, but I wasn't for sure. And I didn't want to be that guy to be like, yep, he got it. And then, hey, Cody, no, he didn't. So I knew it was close, and just the way that it was playing out, like, I was still on pins and needles because they were racing so hard inside the top five late in the final moto of the year. There was nobody backing off and bowing down. It was to the checkers. Everybody was emptying the tank, Brian.
Yeah, I was really surprised that they took that all the way to the very end. Normally towards the end of the motos, there's a few guys that are racing and the rest just kind of settle in.
Yeah.
And come on, we all know Chad. He's so cagey. He's the veteran. He knows. I'll bet you he had the math in his head. He knew where everybody was. He knew exactly what his number was. He knew how much he could give up. He knew what he was willing to give up. And, I just feel like that was he was counting. Like, he was the one guy out there that he was looking around, like adding things in his head while he was on the track, when everybody else was focusing on, you know, the ruts and the lines and, you know, where to go fast and, you know, where to switch it up. And he's out there counting in his head, you know, trying to make sure that he's got this. So, they definitely, everybody was super racy. They took it all the way to the end. And I felt like Chad was just, I don't want to say he was coasting, but I want to say that he was trying to find his happy niche, he was in his comfort zone where he didn't have to worry about somebody in the front and somebody in behind. Like, he just wanted to sail that on home and be done. So I think he knew where he needed to be and knew he was there. And he was just trying to keep it on all four and stay away from the chaos around him, because those guys were letting it hang out.
At the same time, he had to be thinking, Max, like, easy on me, buddy. You got a podium too. Like,
you're my guy.
Let's just get it to the finish. Leave me alone. But Max is just friggin'. Max
might not have known it though. To be honest,
you're right.
I'm thinking that Chad literally knew. Chad and Joel probably knew. Besides that, the rest of the guys were like, every position counts, because I got no idea where I'm at. Well, everybody was up and down.
And that's the thing. Like, I think that because Rodney's saying to me, like, Cody, you're the math guy, like, you know this. And I'm like, yeah, but it's a Triple Crown. So I think it's 20, 18, 16, 14 or 15. Like, it gets a little sketchy down there. So like in normal two moto format, like, we all know the math, but you know, the Triple Crown format is a little, like, we don't do that a lot. And yeah, so I should have had those numbers in front of me, and the computer is supposed to, they even told us, they're like, the computer is going to do the math for you. Don't worry about it. And the computer did not do the math.
Get the bag.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to be like, you know, I wanted to be the guy, because I was hype all weekend. I'd lost my voice. That's why we didn't record this 2 weeks ago, right after the weekend. Like, I didn't have a voice for almost the whole week, but I wanted to be, you know, screaming at the top of my lungs, Chad Wienen does it. And then, you know, I'm more like, Rodney, did he do it? Like, can somebody confirm? Did Chad do it? So, awesome the way it played out. It came right down to the wire. There was great racing going on throughout the pack, especially in the top five. Joel Hetrick wins the moto, like we said. Brandon Hogue second. Mason Jackson a fire third. Chad Wienen hangs on for fourth. He does just enough. Max Lindquist's fifth is going to be good enough for a podium to end the season for him. Just rounding out the top 10 in this final moto: Zach Decker sixth, Kevin Sarr seventh, Nick Janusa eighth, Adam Ulrich ninth, and Jeffrey Estrelli rounds out the top 10. So when we look at the overall, we talked about it up and down already. Chad Wienen, storybook finish for him. Amazing career. That goes without saying. That isn't even doing him enough justice. Absolutely incredible. I just can't believe that we had the storybook ending for him. It was an honor. It was an honor for me. Like, two people got to announce this, and like, I got to announce Chad Wienen's final walk-off race win to end his career. I just like, I feel like it's a blessing for me.
Home run.
Absolutely.
Out of the park.
Absolutely freaking love the guy. I just can't imagine a better way to end a career. Like I said, 67th overall win of his career, 145th podium of his career, obviously an 8-time national champion, Mount Rushmore guy, all the things. So just amazing way to walk off. Joel Hetrick rebounds for second overall, 8-1-1 on the day, rebounds for second overall, only loses one moto on the season, only loses one moto in 2 seasons time. Like, now a 6-time champion. He wraps up the championship on this day. He wins AMA Athlete of the Year, which is freaking ridiculous. And he deserves it, right? Like, the guy in motorsports, they're at the top level of every particular motorsport. There hasn't been a guy more dominant in the last couple of years than Joel Hetrick, and that's why he got this award. So it was something that I didn't even really know about or hear about until the morning of, and I'm like, whoa, really? Like,
that's big.
Yeah, like Mr. Burkeen is here. Like, we're handing, like, what? So really big deal on a day that he, again, doesn't clinch a second undefeated season, but he does clinch his 6th title, which is amazing. It puts him like clearly as, in the very next, just a iota behind, the Chad Wienans and Gary Dentons. He's definitely an all-time great. Go conversation, blah, 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 blah. And he gets this AMA Athlete of the Year award, which kind of almost gets lost in the shuffle because there's so many awesome things going on, but absolutely incredible there. And then Max Lindquist rounding out his season with a podium, 3, 4, 5 for him. I believe it's his 10th career podium finish. And what a way to end his season on a day where, because of Wesley Wolf being knocked out of this championship, who had been sitting 4th in points, it really opened up. Like, that was another storyline that we didn't get to cover a ton, but that battle there was going to be spots open in 4th and 5th because of that. Brandon Hogue was in the mix. Max Lindquist, obviously in the mix, Mason Jackson, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Wesley Wolf. Those guys were in the mix. Wesley had the spot, but we knew that was going to leave that spot wide open. Max Lindquist having an absolutely awesome day is going to jolt him all the way up to 4th overall in the points. And then Mason Jackson, another guy who had an awesome day, he finishes 4th overall with 5.73 scores. He's going to finish top 5 in points again for the second time in his first 2 seasons as a pro, which is absolutely amazing. And Zach Decker too, right? He ends up 5th overall on the day, ending the season on an absolute hot streak, absolute heater, 7.36 on the day for Zach Decker in a top 5 overall spot. So we talked about all those riders already. I'll give the lowdown here on the rest of the guys. So 6th overall, 4.58 for Nick Janusa. Awesome way to end his career because he was in the mix all day. Like, maybe he wanted a little more than 6th, but I thought it was an awesome day for him, running up inside the top 5 in 2 of the motos, and really solid finish at the end there for 6th overall. Jeffrey Rastrelli 7th, 2.810 for him. And one of the things that he said that he wanted to do was be competitive all the way through his final season, his final races as a pro. And yeah, he very much did that. He finished 2nd on his final race day as a pro. He finished 2nd in a moto. So that was freaking amazing. Kevin Saar 8th overall, 10.67 scores. Adam Ulrich, again, I can't say enough about this guy. On a day where there was topsy-turvy results, there was so much going on. The dude goes 9.99 for 9th overall for his best day as a pro, I would argue, for sure. Adam Ulrich, absolutely fire on the day, rounding out the top 10. We talked a lot about Bryce Ford and his hero-like effort, his warrior-like effort, being just on the racetrack on this day was amazing. He was running up inside the top 3 at times in that first moto, hangs on for 10th overall, 14.11 for Bryce. Obviously not the race day he wanted, but to be out there was amazing. And the dude was the clearly second best guy all season long and an absolutely fire. I'm sure. And I think that I heard a little bit from his team, little bummed because if he wouldn't have been feeling the way he was feeling from the effects of the weekend prior, I think it probably felt like a missed opportunity for him. Like maybe he could have got an overall on this day, but still, everybody knows who was P2 on the season, and it was Bryce Ford. I'll let you two guys jump in there, but we talked so highly about Bryce Ford all season long, and I want to do that now to wrap up the season because the dude was absolutely incredible this season. Clearly the second best guy, and yeah, he's just showed his heart of a champion on this final race day for him. Billy, I'll let you jump in there, but dude was a warrior. Awesome to see him out there, and dude's never going to back down from a fight. That's for sure.
Well, I had texted you and said that I had something controversial that was going to make a lot of people mad.
Oh, this is it. Okay. I'm ready. I've been waiting.
Yeah. Well, now that we're talking about Bryce. So at one point, I don't know, it's been a few weeks before Briarcliff, my dad and I were talking, and he was like, I wish we could see Joel now and race against a bunch of the other guys like in their prime back in the day, like Prime Chad and Prime John and Prime Wimmer and, mm-hmm. And the more I thought about it and the more races we watched, I told him, I said, I don't know if Prime any of those guys are faster than Bryce now. It's just he's racing against Joel, so it loses its luster. Mm-hmm. Like Bryce is unreal. And
wow, I don't think that's what I thought this hot take was going to be. But I've been saying all season long that Bryce doesn't get enough credit, and that's why I felt like I always needed to pound the table for it, because I wanted to make sure he was getting the credit that he was due.
Yeah.
Because for him too, I mean, everybody wants to win, and the guy is riding well enough, like he deserves to win, but he's racing against Joel, and the reality of it is he's staring down having to race Joel for a lot of years yet. And that's an unenviable position to be in. But at the same time, the dude's game to step up to the plate and try to, bite into that gap a little bit. And I don't think you're crazy for thinking that. Bryce has been awesome.
Think about it. He's racing against the guy that's arguably the greatest of all time, won't lose a moto in 2 years, and Bryce is consistently finishing second dominantly behind him every time.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
dominating in his own way. That's how I've tried to frame it all season long. He's dominating in his own way by being a step ahead of the whole rest of the pack. So, Brian, what do you got for a response for Billy here?
Well, I thought Billy was going to say something else as well.
Yeah.
Because, I had heard on another podcast, Bryce talking and saying some things, and I had talked to him this last weekend, and we all know, like, the Nations is coming up.
Yep.
He's got that. He's getting married. He's
got Crandon in his off-road truck next weekend.
He's there. There's Bryce has opportunities because he's just well-rounded, and he's a great kid. I mean, it's hard not to like Bryce. I don't care who you are. He's always seems to be so positive. He likes to bring that energy. He's great with the kids. There's water balloon fights. There's water guns, like the fireworks. Like, he's doing all this
drama on the track.
Well, yeah. Other than that one issue, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know the story behind that. But those two, for whatever reason, got beef. But like, Bryce is always so positive, and he brings a lot of positiveness to the sport and where he's at. Like, he's even done it locally at, Billy knows a local track, does Malvern. He showed up to that, I believe, a couple times, and, really got some people interested and changed some minds about, ATVs because of seeing what he did and his just infectious attitude and what he brought. But he had said, and I heard him say it, that there's going to come a time when you got to kind of grow up and you got to look forward to the future and what's going on. And we all know the unfortunate situation is we don't get the dirt bike money and the promotion and that side of things with what we do. And just like with these guys getting hurt, it's probably a little bit of a wake up call to some of them. Not that they don't do it for fun, but most of these guys aren't making money, or, they're spending their own money to do it. And, he was looking to the future, and what he talked about was possibly the same thing that, we've heard from a few other guys, maybe not a full schedule, or, maybe getting into something else that he can kind of expand that other side of the income of things. And, who knows? In a couple of years, he could be looking to build a family. I mean, everything changes, obviously, and there's different obstacles put in front of us that those decisions influence that and taking down different paths. But I did know or hear that Bryce was exploring options. And I know personally, it would be a huge hit to our sport, especially with all the other guys that are retiring and going away right now, if we lost somebody like Bryce, because it's clear that he's a few steps ahead of a lot of the guys out there. He works hard for it. Some people try to say it's a money thing and he has everything given to him. Bryce works hard. You don't get that fast and do what he does without working hard. He's put in the time, he's put in the effort. And I feel that he deserves all the credit in the world because he worked for it. It wasn't given to him.
Money don't that kind of speed.
No.
Absolutely not. It might get you, on a machine, but Bryce does all the work on that machine. He does everything from, the the 30-second board drop to the checkered flag comes out, and nobody else can deny him that. He's there. He's the only one that has kept Joel in check at some races and not let him just disappear. And there's not anybody else, I don't think, that can say that. So, I have a lot of respect for Bryce, and I think that he's a great positive influence at the track for not just the racers, but the up and comers and the young kids as well. He's a good role model. He does a lot of things that are positive for our sport. And the only negatives that I see is probably jealousy. So, I hope that he doesn't leave. I hope that he keeps coming back, and I hope he sticks with us. And I know he's got options, though. And I can't blame him if he takes his talents and goes down a different path that he can make money, or, follow in his parents' footsteps and take over a successful business. I mean, there's a lot of things going on there, and he's growing up. So there's going to be some decisions that have to be made. And I just hope that we don't lose him sooner, and hopefully that happens much later.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that you're right too. I don't doubt any of those things. There was a time in recent years where I was very worried about exactly what you're outlining right now. But then in the last couple of years, it seemed like we've watched Bryce, though he's getting, having to race against Joel, like I said, getting beaten by Joel, but it's almost like he's found some gleam of light in the fact that he's racing one of the best dudes ever, if not the greatest of all time. Jeffrey said it when he was on one of the recent shows recently. He said, no offense to Chad, but Joel's going to keep racing, and he's going to end up being the greatest of all time if he's not already. He's going to win the most races. He's already there. He's going to win the most championships, all those things. And I don't doubt, Jeffrey's saying the quiet part out loud. That being said, it seems like Bryce has found, some positivity. He's found like his spot he's in second in command right now, but like clearly. And I was worried he was going to get bored of all this. And then it seems like he's almost like inserted himself that much deeper into it. It's almost like he's found his spot where he just loves it that much, where I think it'd be really hard for him to walk away. And yes, I know, he could do anything. Like, he's awesome. He's so competitive. He's one of those guys that I just look at him and I'm like, you'll be good at whatever you do. We all know those people. Like, he's just one of those guys. He's doing the off-road truck thing. Like, Crandon's just up the road from us. I was telling Brooke today, like, we should go see him next weekend at Crandon. It'd be awesome to see him racing that demographic too, or that, that style of racing as well. But I just feel like, and now he's marrying, Isa Harris. So he's like ingrained in this SSI thing. And it's like racing will always be a part of his life. Like, I just don't foresee him being able to walk away from ATV racing, at least not yet. And I sure hope not, because the dude is getting better and better and better. And Billy, I'll let you jump in there, but he's better. He's that much better than he was last year. And Joel keeps getting better, but Bryce is, I'm not saying he's keeping pace with him, but he's like also getting better, and he's not letting Joel just fricking cream everybody. Like, Bryce is keeping him honest. And I hope that he sticks with it, because he's still a young dude who's just getting better. And again, Billy, like, I think about like what you just told us and what your theory is. And I'm thinking about, at least over the course of the last, all of Chad Wienen's winning. Like, so we're looking at the last 10 plus years, other than Joel and Chad. Like, he's clearly the next guy in line. I want to go to the era before that with John. And then you get into, if you go prior to that, you get to
Jeremiah and Doug.
You get to Jeremiah, and then the Wimmer era, like what we're talking about, WPSA era, like that would be tough, because Wimmer always got really good starts and put himself in such great position. But that's exactly what Bryce is doing. That's what would make him so hard to beat if you put him up against a previous era where he maybe wasn't racing Joel, but was racing, peak other guys. Is Bryce has made it now that he gets such great starts. It's just that Joel's a magician when it comes to starts, but Bryce too is just as good at starts now. And that's what makes him so tough, is he puts him, like, he's now proven that he's going to put himself in great position every weekend. And he will race up to the pack if he has to. He's proven that. Again, we're coming off Briarcliff where he, was hurt, but I don't want people to forget, man, like no matter what his cards were that he was dealt, he was able to make it happen all season long. He finished second in every moto leading up to Briarcliff, every single moto except for one. I mean, I just can't say enough.
And that was to Chad.
Yeah, to Chad. That's what I'm saying. To an 8-time champion, right. Like he made an 8-time champion the third, clearly third guy because he was that good. And so when you think about what Billy, what you're saying, what your theory is, like, I don't think wasn't expecting it, but I don't think it's that far fetched. Like and I love it because it's giving Bryce the credit that he deserves because he's just been so freaking good.
Yes. And that's the thing. Like I said, yeah, he's racing against Joel, and whether Joel's the greatest of all time or not, we have to agree that he's the most dominant of all time.
Yeah.
And if you take that out of the equation, Bryce would have had the greatest season ever. Really. And we were talking about how good that was.
If Joel doesn't exist, if Joel retires, if Joel wasn't on the gate, and you're putting this in a great way, if Joel wasn't on the gate, Bryce would have almost had an undefeated season himself. And you're right. Like that puts it into perspective how freaking good the dude was. And what I was going to say before about money not being able to buy these things is Robin said to me years ago, Cody and Bryce have all the exact same opportunities and all the exact same equipment. And I love Cody. Cody was awesome. I love the dude, but Cody was not Bryce. You know, Cody, to his credit, has a top 3 in his career. He finished on the podium once in his career in 2019, but Bryce and Cody having all the same opportunities, and look what Bryce has done with them. And Cody was a very respected top 10 pro, but not at Bryce's level. And I think that shows it, that Bryce has something in him that makes him, one of the greats. I mean, look at dude has 30 plus podiums. Like, think about all the huge name ATV pro racers that absolutely do not have 30 plus podiums. I mean, the dude, again, just phenomenal. Enough cannot be said about how good the dude was this year. So you're right. You got me convinced. I mean, I'm not totally opposed to what you're saying.
After we're all done talking, you guys are both going to be sitting there the rest of the night thinking of exactly what I said.
Well, you know what I was just thinking is, if you take Joel out of the equation, Bryce had the streak dang near that Joel had.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, to his credit, 100%, he got beat by Chad one moto, and we can't count, obviously, this last one being injured. But yeah, that's crazy to think that he has distanced himself and put himself in that position that he separated. He did. He separated himself from the field. But once again, like you said, you got Joel out there. Without Joel, Bryce is running away with it.
Yep.
Well, coming into the finale, Bryce had 100 points on third. Bryce had 100 points on Chad. So he ends the series like 75 points on Chad ish, just under that.
So, like you said, Cody, if Bryce hadn't have gotten hurt and came into this healthy, unless he gets tangled, we know what the outcome's going to be. So he'd have extended that. So Billy, way to go.
Yeah, Billy, again, not what I was expecting, but you convinced me. So let's keep this thing rolling. I'll finish out the rest of these guys on our overall from the day. So Brandon Hogue, 11th overall, Joey Norris, 12th overall, Patrick Chiarini, 13th overall, John Glotta, 14th, the GNCC guy, Manfred Zeinecker, 15th, Aaron Salinas making his return to ATV Pro Racing, 16th, Tyler Marlin, 17th overall, Mark McClernand, 18th overall, Marshall Smith, 19th, and Jaden Launderville was on our list. But yeah, obviously not racing on this day. Still pretty busted up. I should take this opportunity to thank all the people that bought the wristbands that they were selling over the course of the weekend for Jaden Launderville. All the proceeds, obviously, from that getting donated to JJ in his recovery. Still looking at a couple more surgeries here and got still a lot going on. So we're still thinking about and praying for Jaden Launderville. But let's quickly just look at the way that the points ended up. So Joel Hetrick, obviously, big lead, 495 over Bryce Ford. Bryce Ford, 415. Like I was just kind of outlining, Chad Wienen ending the season third overall in points with 342. So Bryce Ford at 415, Chad back at 342. Max Lindquist ends up fourth in points, 298 over Mason Jackson, rounding out the top five with 294. Then a little bit of a gap back to Brandon Hogue, who didn't have the day he wanted. Jeffrey Estrelli, seventh overall in points. Wesley Wolf ending up eighth. Again, Wesley was sitting in the fourth spot heading into the finale, but obviously would not line up with the injuries that he suffered the weekend prior. Nick Janusa ends up ninth in points, and Zach Decker going to round out the top 10 in the series points standings.
One thing I do want to say before we move on from the pros, huge shout out for getting Tim Farr to come out and be Grand Marshal. I did want to bring that up. We kind of forgot about that. Jeremy Osborne made the call and got Tim out there, and Timmy's a real special individual to me, at least. And I was appreciative to see Tim there, and I thought that was a great idea to get Timmy to come out and ride the 240R with the vintage race going on and everything. So I just wanted to, bring that up, that since that was with the pros, that was really cool. And I like that. Like I said, I really like Timmy, so I was happy to see him.
An all-time great in his own right, and probably a great example of the fact that so many things were happening on this weekend that I felt so spread out, so spread thin. I couldn't even track all the things going on. So got word in the morning that this was possibly going to happen. It was funny to listen to Jeremy talk about this later in the weekend, when kind of the weekend was over. He's like, man, I wasn't going to believe it till I saw it. I wasn't going to believe it till it was actually happening. But yeah, Timmy out there on the iconic number 4, leading these guys around as a Grand Marshal. That was a really special deal. So next thing, Sunday was headlined by the International Cup. That was something that we were selling all season long. We saw these guys jump in the pro class, like Brian said earlier, all kinds of talent from the Quad Cross of Nations that we'll see in a few weeks from now. We had almost the whole Irish team was on display here at Briarcliff, which is amazing. But yeah, the International Cup lived up to the hype. Kevin Saar, it was all about Kevin Saar, and he was really good on Saturday. We saw him race well in the pro class. We saw him second fastest in qualifying. This International Cup was all about Kevin Saar. Patrick Turini, who we saw race in the series a couple years ago, was really strong, top 10 pro. He's the Italian champion. He's the best guy in Europe. Kevin Saar was the best guy in Europe for a long time. It seems like Turini has kind of filled that void since Kevin's been over here. It was fun because Patrick, tried to match Kevin for a while in these motos and did, and it was fun to watch. And Patrick really upped his pace to run with Kevin in these motos. So it was cool to see him be game for that. But yeah, it was all about Kevin Saar up front. Patrick Turini ends up going 2-2 on the day, and Mark McClernand ends up rounding out the podium. So it was an Estonian, an Italian, and an Irishman, 1, 2, 3. And I thought that the International Cup ended up being a really, really cool deal. It was fun to see the talent here. And I just, and I think I said this on the mic at one point, but it's kind of cool. I mean, these guys would have raced each other at the Quad Cross of Nations. I'm sure these guys raced each other a number of times over in Europe. These are, the 3 biggest names of European racing, or at least 3 of them. And pretty cool that Jeremy put something together that had these 3 standing on the podium in Ohio, USA on a Sunday in August. I just thought that was a pretty darn cool thing that Jeremy has created enough of an event and enough of a pull to get these big name European ATV racers over here. And I thought that they put on a show.
I agree. I thought it was great for the sport. I thought that was huge, that, like you said, Jeremy had enough clout to pull that off and get those guys over here. And I'm sure some of them were probably just looking for an excuse to come over and get to, see one of our tracks and kind of feel it out, what it's all about. I had heard Emma talk about it, how it was so much different from what they were used to. They have more like a GP style course over there where they don't have doubles and jumps and stuff that we do. So like all those big jumps and gaps and triples are all new. So that was really cool. I thought that those guys probably had a good time and got to almost race a different style and flow than what they were used to. So they probably really enjoyed it, I would imagine.
And it shows how freaking good they are. I mean, we all know that this isn't the normal tracks that they race on, technical like we got here, and to see how capable these guys are, pretty darn impressive. And you just touched on Emma Ray, Brian. I mean, she, was in the mix for a podium in that second moto, battled Mark McLernan pretty good there, and and Mario Gonzalez also running inside the top 5. Those guys were putting on a show. Billy, what did you see? The International Cup was pretty darn cool. Thought it lived up to the hype. I thought it was something that sounds like maybe could happen in the future again. And I would assume that even more of those Euro guys, after such a cool thing, after a cool event, I think that we'll see even more of those guys want to be a part of this if there is another one.
Yeah, I would think so. And it was cool. It was cool seeing Patrick back out there because I always liked his riding style.
Me too.
But,
me too.
Yeah, it was all about Kevin. I mean, toward the end of the year here, Kevin's been riding really good. And but yeah, back to if we have it again in the future, I don't see why, guys wouldn't want to come over and do it just because, he puts on such a good event. The track is probably, like Brian was saying, it's got to be really fun for them riding something completely different like that. And like I said, the event is cool. He did so much and made it so fun. And, as you touched on, everything for the kids and, the pit quad races and, it is, if they are looking for any excuse whatsoever to come over here, that, they have
the one.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one. I even before the weekend, I think I was having a conversation with my dad and I'm like, Jeremy had that national in 2014 and then he desperately wanted one back for a number of years. And you fast forward a decade from 2014 and it's like, again, like I said already, Jeremy has created this vibe with Briarcliff that it's the special one. It's the one that you would go to if you were going to go to probably any one of these things. If you were traveling here, if you're just going to go to one race, you're going to go to Briarcliff. Like he's making it the, like I said, the ATV racing capital of the world for that weekend. I really think that it's the biggest draw in the series and it's a credit for Jeremy, for making that because like I said already, like he desperately wanted to get a national back. And when he did, he's just been knocking these things out of the park year after year. So credit to him. Speaking of knocking things out of the park, man, some of the best racing that we saw on the weekend was in those top amateur classes. The Pro-Am class on Sunday was awesome. We were talking about Sundays being headlined by the International Cup. The next thing in line was Pro-Am, and Noah Arnold was amazing on this day. He goes 1-1. It was incredible. He was racing for a potential championship in pro sport on Saturday. Things didn't go the way that he wanted. Stepped up to the plate and was just freaking awesome on Sunday and held off every charge by Joey Norris, who was racing to it was kind of him and Noah were the two headliners trying to battle for this championship. Joey ends up getting it done. He puts himself in great position. 2-2 on the day. Joey Norris holds off the pack. He was the guy. Let's be clear. He was the guy in Pro-Am earlier in the year. He breaks that collarbone. Things get a little dicey, does what he needs to do, stays in contention, seals the deal at the finale. Joey Norris finishes second and wraps up that title. But awesome racing going on there. Juan Ondachu finishes third overall, but Joey Norris wins the championship. But it was Noah Arnold who holds off kind of the charges and the racecraft from AMA ATV Pro Rookie of the Year. The 2025 Rookie of the Year is Joey Norris, and Noah Arnold steps up to the plate and kind of matches him all day long. I'm sure Joey's saying, I didn't have to beat him, which is totally fair, but I was really, really, really impressed with Noah Arnold on this day. I thought it looked like he took what happened on Saturday and kind of bottled that up and used it as fuel on Sunday, and was just awesome to end the season in the Pro-Am class. I don't know what you saw, Billy. I know that you saw him, race the Bartosik race and was awesome there too. But I just thought Noah Arnold ended the season on an absolute heater.
He sure did. He wouldn't be denied on Sunday. And it was cool to see. I like the kid, really nice kid and super fast. Kind of reminds me of, which I don't know, the TDR bike doesn't help matters any, but it kind of reminds me of Mason Jackson a little bit.
Yeah, he does.
Riding style isn't too far off and things like that either. So I'm very, very curious to see what next year holds for him and what he's going to do, if he's going to move up, if he's not. I haven't talked to him.
Oh, I think he's moving up. Yeah, I think he's
Why not?
Coming, and it makes perfect sense. It's perfect time for him.
Yep.
And I guess I might as well get into Saturday right away, because Pro Sport, dude,
it was gnarly.
Pro Sport was like, there was so much great racing on the weekend, but Pro Sport cannot get lost in the shuffle because it was so topsy-turvy.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
The following message is brought to you by Manscaped.com. The Manscaped engineering team has outdone themselves this time, creating the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, now available for purchase in the US and Canada. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, with this exclusive offer of 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at Manscaped.com. I'm one of the first people to try the new 4.0, and I am blown away. This thing is next level. What sets this trimmer apart from all the rest? The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. It features a new multi-functioning on-off switch with travel lock for those of us who like to travel. And my favorite, the new trimmer allows you to customize your trim with 4 different guard lengths, an upgrade from its predecessor that only featured 2. If you're listening, you know that good tools are a must, so wait no more to get the best tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at Manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped.com by using code DiggingDeep20.
Hey everyone, this is Larry Mills, president of DP Brakes North America and proud partner of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. We at DP Brakes are a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology, dominating the ATV world for decades by supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. This year's lineup includes Jeff Rastrelli, Mark Baldwin and Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Janusa, and many more, including Mr. Digging Deep himself, Cody Jansen. Plus all the top 17 GNCC pros such as 7-time champion Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Hunter Hart, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, Adam McGill, and previous champion Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer. Products that ultimately help place them on top of the podium week after week. DP brakes are available through www.dp-brakes.com, or you can purchase them through your local Parts Unlimited stocking dealer, or you can even message us, myself, Larry Mills, or DP Brakes on Instagram or Facebook. And if you have any questions about product or sponsorship support, please ask us. We are waiting for you. Join the best ATV riders in the world equipped with DP Brakes, and have a great year, everyone.
Headlined by their 4130 Chromoly, Launderville Steel and Concrete Supply is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products. This racing family-owned full metal service center and concrete product supplier comes with over 30 years of experience serving the entire United States from their central Midwest location. As the number one choice for nationwide shipments and with available next-day delivery in select areas, LSE has you covered near or far. 4130 is not just the chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for an array of motorsports applications, but it is also the name of the newest addition to the Pro Paddock with riders Jaden JJ Launderville and Max Lindquist, introducing the new 4130 Motorsports team. Launderville Steel offers a large selection of material for any project, including their concrete division that can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. For a quote or more info, visit laundervillesteel.com today or give them a call at 715-675-6193. That's 715-675-6193. With the desire to keep you in the race, Ultimate Poly Products offers the ultimate protection collection of case savers, chain sliders, intake manifolds, and more. Founded on quality in 1998, this family-owned and operated business produces products created by racers for racers. These industry-leading products are proudly made and manufactured in the USA, with their case savers being made of the highest quality American-made polyurethane on the market and designed to completely conform to your engine case to help prevent case damage from a thrown chain, because no one wants to be a spectator on race day. Join top pro riders like Bryson Neal, Walker Fowler, John Glotta Jr., Adam McGill, Cole Richardson, and more by using UPP Racing products. Use discount code DiggingDeep15 at uppracing.com to save on your next order. Ultimate Poly Products, made to last longer so you can ride more. Thanks for listening, and remember to support our partners. Now back to the show. There was so much great racing on the weekend, but pro sport cannot get lost in the shuffle because it was so topsy-turvy. Like so many, like we had a 3 or 4 way battle going on for the title. And at every point, at least in the first moto, like one different guy was, in contention. It was crazy. And it ends up being Cale Deal who wins the overall. Damian Hubert puts himself in position with 2nd overall to win the championship. So credit to him.
Yep.
Heath Hanna finishes on the podium in 3rd overall. But that first moto, like we had dudes flipping and Noah Arnold being one of them. He goes flipping. He gets back on the quad. He's like right back in 2nd, like a lap later, ends up crashing in the 2nd moto and kind of crashing his way out of contention for this title. Juan Ondichu and Cody Houghton also battling in this title, freaking wad themselves completely up in one of the split lanes, and they whack the ground so hard. Cody Houghton gets up, and Cody Houghton wins the 2nd moto. I can't even believe the kid's alive, and he wins the 2nd moto. It's absolutely insane. So credit to Damian Hubert for winning the title, but what a freaking day of racing in that pro sport class, because again, a couple of them looked like they shouldn't have been alive. Every one of them looked like at a different point, at least in that first moto, that they should have been, the champion here. And at times, Noah Arnold, kind of in both motos, looked like he was going to be the guy and goes cartwheeling first moto, salvages it, goes cartwheeling 2nd moto. I think he's all busted up and then ends up rebounding and, just being on rails on Sunday. But Brian, what a trip pro sport was, dude. Unreal.
I seen the short snippets and videos put together after the fact, and I seen them all in person, except for I didn't see what happened to Noah on the backside of Bigfoot.
Oh my God.
And then when I seen it, I was like, oh my God, how did he even get up from that? And like you were saying about, these guys in the pro sport and the pro-am, I've been hearing about cracked helmets and, just all this stuff being broke all year long. And I'm like, I know these guys are going fast, but these guys are made of like nails and steel to get.
And they were all fine. They were all fine. That's the crazy part. Like on a rock hard racetrack, it's like concrete. It's hard packed. All this stuff. They're cartwheeling and smoking the ground and taking tires and flipping, and everybody's fine.
Yeah, they run to their bike, plug the kill switch in, they throw their hands up like, oh, the bike gave out on me. Like, are you kidding me? If I'd have done that, I'd have been in the hospital for 2 or 3 weeks, man.
And again, like I can't believe I felt for all of them. I felt terrible for Noah though. Like, and I shouldn't say though. I felt terrible for Noah because he cartwheels. Like, I don't even know how he flipped in the first moto. It just seemed like he just flipped. It was a little, I don't know, got a little crossed up coming into that finish line corner.
He didn't have brakes. Yep. His brakes went out.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, he caught something. He couldn't slow down. He had no way to slow down at all.
Okay, whatever the case may be, I'm like, oh my God. He gets back on the quad. He crashes. He's like in 4th or 5th. 1 lap later, he's in 2nd. And then, finishes 2nd in that first moto. He's in great position. And then, the 2nd moto, things go totally haywire. And that quad is sitting there like 3 motos later. And I'm like, man, you got to be thinking what could have been. Cody Houghton too. Like he's now right at the front. He looks like he's maybe in control of this title, and him and Wani get together, and those guys, go ricocheting everywhere. And Damian Hubert, man, credit to him. He's the last dude standing. He wins the championship to win a pro sport title is freaking crazy gnarly. And we're talking about all these guys and how good they were. But dude, that was the most craziest finale.
Hey, like it was a great fight. It was awesome. It was amazing to see.
Yeah.
But like, oh my gosh, how
couldn't predict it though. Could not predict that.
Oh no, because like you said, every time somebody got to the front, you're like, oh, okay, they're in control, and then go flipping off the track. Like, well, are you kidding me? What just happened?
What's going to happen to them? Somebody's got a voodoo doll somewhere.
Dude, I talked to Wani after because I missed the crash. I didn't know what happened. I saw him up there, then he was gone, and I couldn't and then I saw him in the infield, and when you have a conversation with Wani, like 3/4 of it is sound effects and like 1/4 is words.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, tires, boom, 360. Yeah. That was, I was like, oh, okay.
Okay,
like,
got it.
Yeah, I'm like, you okay? And he's like, yep, that was it.
Dude, and that dude is when you look at him, that dude is freaking built.
Yes.
And
yeah.
So him and Cody Houghton are like opposites because Cody Houghton is just a freaking string bean. And for them to both be like totally fine after the moto, again, I couldn't believe it. So yeah, what a fight. Again, congrats to all these dudes, but congrats to Damian Hubert on being the last one standing and winning this title. Credit to him. That was absolutely awesome. Okay, so I can't imagine that it took an hour and a half to get here. But WMX lived up to the hype. Brian touched on it right from the beginning that we wanted it to be the motos that we were hoping they would be, not affected by DNFs, not affected by weather, not affected by any of that stuff. I think we got served exactly what we wanted on a silver platter, especially in the first moto, because Emma gets the whole shot. Kinsey's in second, and Kinsey was going to have to go through her to get out front. And even prior to that, we're watching these girls on Friday practice in the pro sport practice, and they're going as fast as anybody. So like I'm watching Emma particularly, and I'm like, dude, and we knew this already, but like she's game for it on this weekend. Like she was not going to go down without a fight. And, we knew that if Kinsey got just one moto win, she didn't need to beat Emma in the second moto. So Kinsey does exactly what she has to do. She's stalking Emma. And at one point I'm like, I don't know if she's going to get her. And she kind of wicked it up a little bit, makes the pass, ends up getting that moto win. And there's pictures of it. You can see the emotion from Kinsey after that first moto. And you don't see emotion from her very often at all. And I think you also saw emotion from Emma too after the first moto, where she was like, it's not over. And then, we jump to the second moto and Kinsey gets the whole shot. I'm worried going into the first, because Emma was not going to go down without a fight. So Kinsey going into that first corner in the second moto with a tire on Emma, and Emma was in perfect position to do something, that she was going to do something. And I was worried that we might see that because I didn't want to see it go down like that by any means for anybody.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to win like that.
No. And credit to Emma, man. She gave everything she could in that second moto. But Kinsey ends up going 1-1 on the final day of racing in this freaking phenomenal championship battle for the WMX class. And Brian, I'll let you jump in here first because you're the WMX guy. You said that from the rip, but I thought, like you said, I thought it lived up to the hype. And like I said, I thought we got, like I said, on a silver platter. You framed it very well coming into this, Brian, that if Emma were to win the first moto, that second moto was going to be can't miss. And I was in the tower with like 2 laps to go. I believe Kinsey was still in second. And I was thinking that that's the way this was going to go. It was really going to come down to that final moto if Kinsey didn't, win the first one, and Kinsey finds an inch, gets by and makes it happen in the first moto. And that was a really big deal. So I knew how big Pleasure Valley was in the penultimate round. That's why I was like, Kinsey needed to win that one. And she did. And she ended up finding a way to win that first moto to take some of the pressure off. And that kind of sealed the deal there. But what did you see, Brian?
So that first moto, when I seen Emma pull that start, I was like, okay, it's on. Like this is going to be the one to watch because, there's so much hinged upon this race and this outcome.
Yeah.
So to Emma's credit and Kinsey's credit, they were picking great lines the first lap or two. I seen Kinsey on the far back side of the track. She took the outside. Well, it was the inside, which ended up outside, inside, then for the step up.
Yep.
She was taking that after lap 1. She took it lap 2 and 3. And it was obviously slower at that point in time in the day. And we're doing, and she was giving Emma that time to her. And then she was making it up someplace else on the track. I think she was making it up on the front side there in the finish line area, and then around the whole shot area, she was making up some time there someplace to get herself back up there. One of the things I seen that she was better on the wall jump. She just got a better drive from it.
Yeah, she was good there.
She would pull over by Emma there, and she would be able to pull up beside her enough to show her wheels to make her nervous. And she had to have got into Emma's head a little bit, I would think, because going into that next section, Emma kept going the correct line, which would have been the outside, inside, outside was faster. And the one lap, when Kinsey got a good drive off the wall jump, and it had to be lap 3 or 4, like you were saying, when Emma got a little bit of a weird hop off of the, it would have been, let me see. Okay. The left after the wall jump, it would have been right there. She got a little bit of a weird hop. I didn't see what happened, but when she got that hop, I think she felt like she had to cross over to kind of keep Kinsey in check or keep her back there. And when she did that, Kinsey seen it, and she crisscrossed on her and took that alternate line, which was quicker, and she was able to make the pass there. I felt like if Emma would have stuck to her lines and actually kept taking that line that she was, the previous three laps, I think it was, I don't know that Kinsey would have been able to get around her, because Emma just had enough of motor and the correct line choice that even though Kinsey might have been a tick faster in some areas, she could pull beside her, but I don't think she could have made the pass. But when she made that one little mistake and she crossed over, Kinsey took advantage, and that's where she made that pass for Moto 1 to end up getting the lead and then holding that all the way to the finish line. And I felt like I just like you, I seen the emotion when she came across, and I thought, okay, the pressure's gone now. I mean, you almost didn't want to say it out loud, but I felt like as long as there's not a mechanical, Kinsey could kind of go out and try and be safe. I know that's probably not the way she was going to ride, but as a possibility, that was there. And the Moto 1 definitely lived up to the hype. And Moto 2, Emma gave it everything she had. She didn't give her an inch. She was right there the entire time. And they put on a show. Kinsey just was able to hold on or edge away just a little bit. And, to her credit, I mean, she earned that. I know some people can say that, that home track and whatnot, but, for me, Jeremy always changes that track up from anything that you see all year long. And I know it's not like in Loretta's, because, Loretta's, you don't get to practice, but you don't get to practice his track, what he throws out there either. There's changes that have been made, but just like any one of us, we could make the argument, once you've gone to Loretta's a few years, there's no advantage to going back there, because they literally don't change anything. Right. The difference you get there might be a little bit more peak 10 commandments than anything else. And I actually told Jeremy coming into the race, I was like, you know what? People are trying to make the comparison to Loretta's. I was like, why don't you put in some commandments back there and just to mix it up and surprise everybody? Because there you go. That's everybody says that's the separator when it comes down to it. The rest of the track, there's nothing that's really crazy. I mean, Jeremy's putting sand on the track. Jeremy's got better split lines. Jeremy's got a longer layout. Yeah. So go ahead and throw some commandments in to make it technical. And there you go. Nobody can say anything about it. But, I felt like that was the race we expected. That was the race we wanted. and Kinsey just happened to be faster that day. Emma rode great. I give her huge props, great credit. I mean, she rode great all weekend. You've seen her in the International Cup. She was amazing. Yep. She didn't give anybody an inch, No. So that was, I was happy to see it. I was happy that, they stayed clean, that it was a good race. It was heads up, straight up. And Kinsey happened to come out on top this time. If Emma comes back next year, I had talked to her and she had said about they had some suspension struggles and bike setup because, like I said, it was a little bit different race style, race track than what she was used to. She could run the bike a lot lower because the jumps weren't as big, and they feel like they finally got the bike set up closer to what she probably needs. Still not real sure about the back end, wanted to try some different things and whatnot, but if she comes back next year and brings that information with her, maybe it's a different outcome. I don't know. I mean, the off season will tell, that's for sure. Because both of those women stepped it up, and they're definitely, the Joel Hetrick and Bryce Ford of the women's class. So
yeah, for sure.
Happy to see it. I think it's great racing. I think it's great for the sport, and it promotes themselves.
Like Billy said so many times, like we've been on all these episodes so excited to talk about WMX. And if it wasn't for those two, if it wasn't for Emma being here, it would just be kind of ho-hum. And so, yeah, credit to them. Congrats to both of them. Can't take anything away from either of them. I've been on all the shows saying that I give Kinsey a lot of credit because she was the dominant one that then had to all of a sudden, this one's going to be tough. And she raced the whole season without a throwout because she used it up at the first race. And that she kind of had her back against the wall for that. And late in the season, at every pivotal moment, Kinsey stepped up to the plate and was the one that seized that moment. And that being said, Emma deserves a ton of credit because Emma made it as hard as anybody on earth could have possibly made it for Kinsey. And they both deserve credit for their roles in that. Emma deserves a ton of credit for being the gnarliest competitor that anybody could have dreamt up for Kinsey in this season. And Kinsey deserves the credit for stepping up to the plate and making it happen again. So I don't know how you saw it, Billy. And like I've been saying, and I want to make it very clear. I think all of us have been on these shows giving Emma all the credit we could from the start, because again, she was not dealt easy cards. I mean, she signed up for this, but the odds were going to be stacked against her. But at the same time, the Euros at round one were saying, we knew it was going to go this way. And Kinsey with her back against the wall. And this is the feeling I was feeling. My heart was racing at the gate drop of Moto 2 at Pleasure Valley because I knew it was a pivotal moment. It was a climax in the season because Kinsey had to win that one if she wanted it to come down to Briarcliff, and she did. And Emma gave her everything she could, and she was right there, but Kinsey won it. And then in this first moto at Briarcliff, another pivotal moment, Kinsey had to win, or she was going to be in an absolutely must-win scenario in Moto 2. And she did what she had to do in the final waning moments of that opening moto to make the pass and get the win so that the pressure wasn't going to come down to Moto 2. And then Moto 2, Moto 2 is not totally safe either because Emma had Emma's last card to play was getting dirty with Kinsey, and Emma didn't. And I don't know if that's because she was never going to, or if because Kinsey never gave her the opportunity to. But either way, at every pivotal moment late in the season, Kinsey was just a click ahead. And you're exactly right, Brian. You're absolutely right that if Emma were to return for 2026, I mean, obviously she would be better. Like, she knows what to expect. She knows the tracks, whole deal, knows the set, has the setup figured out, all the things. But man, what a friggin' fight it was this year. I'll never forget it. I will never forget this. This was absolutely awesome. Congrats to both of them. What a fun season it was. Kinsey ends up coming out on top, and she won another one. But Billy, how'd you see it, man? Because it was it lived up to the hype for me. It was a title fight, and it was just awesome.
It did live up to the hype, and either way, I was going to be happy for whoever won and think like, tough break for whoever didn't, because they went back and forth so much all year. And like, to go off of what you said, you couldn't think up a better rider to go against Kinsey, because it was kind of cool how polar opposite they are, but they were both so good that, they each had their moments, and it just happened to be that both of their moments were basically dead even until the last one. So
see, and Kinsey's so like calm, cool, and collected, but for a split moment in time, she showed her emotion on the podium and was like, yeah, but they can talk, but I'm the one standing up here with the trophy. And I love that. I love that, because you never get anything from Kinsey. She's, like I said, she's a pro's pro, but for that moment in time, she was like, this is mine. And I know that championship for her came with a little sense of relief. And I even told her after the fact, I'm like, you got to let yourself enjoy this and appreciate what you accomplished, because it wasn't easy. And I've been telling her from the very beginning of the season, I'm like, this season right here is the one you're going to remember, because the last couple where it wasn't that hard, I don't want to, no disrespect to anybody, but it wasn't that hard and you dominated and all that stuff. Those are just going to be footnotes in this season being the one that you remember because it was difficult. Like, we've all raced our entire lives, and the difficult ones, whether it be a race win or a championship or whatever, those are the ones that you remember. The ones, my championship where it came down to the final moto and I had to win and that's the one that is my most cherished. And I know that Kinsey after the fact wasn't feeling that way. It was relief. And I hope that as the dust settles and, now a couple weeks removed, and as the dust settles, as we go forward, I hope that it is more appreciated by her, because it wasn't easy, and it would have been a whole lot easier to bow out of this thing. And
she worked for it.
She worked for it.
And I hope it lights a fire under Emma and she comes back and we get to watch it all over again.
Oh man. Chapter 2. I love it.
Yeah, they both elevated their game.
They did,
because of each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even after the beginning of the year, I don't think Kinsey has had a built motor until this year.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're exactly right. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, because we heard Emma's and was like, oh, damn, that is a fire-breathing dragon right there. So they had to up their game. And, it was like just back and forth, that battle of one-upping each other. Mm-hmm. And training and just across the board, so like you said, I think that was going to mean a lot. And to credit to all the girls, I think they all
absolutely
elevated their riding, because coming down to the end there, the rest of the girls, it wasn't a spread out field like what it's been in past years.
Oh, no,
like there was actually some really good riding, some intense battles. There was, points and finished positions on the line. I was upset to see India get hurt and have to bow out, but you've seen girls like Tegan and Shelby and Allison step up and really get quicker and, bust out the jumps and really get their lap times to where they were very respectable. So those girls all put in work and all got quicker, whether they realized it or not.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Olivia Joyner is on the list in front of me.
Yeah, Olivia as well.
She goes 3-3 on the day and was awesome. Tegan Bratcher deserves so much credit, and we've said her name so much all year because she's been the third place girl at most of the races, and she was awesome all season long. Shelby Cabrando on Friday, I swear to you, was hitting Bigfoot cleaner than anybody. So
yeah, I said the same thing. She was awesome. Landing at the bottom, and I was like, I barely made it to the top the couple times I did it. I just didn't have the drive. And I'm like, you got some.
I was telling Pro-Am and Pro Sport guys, watch Shelby Cabrando, because she's going all the way to the bottom where it was perfectly smooth. Billy, I think I might have told you this.
You did.
All the way to the bottom where it was perfectly smooth, lined it up, hucked it, butter. Perfect. Alison Klutwick was awesome.
Yep.
India Jaquez, like she was awesome. She obviously got hurt, but just, yeah, the girls deserve so much credit. It was awesome to see. It was just a great fight all season long. And even in the off season, prior to even knowing Emma was going to be here for sure, we were hyping up WMX, and then it surpassed every expectation we could have ever had. So lived up to the hype at the finale. There were so many great moments, even in the amateur classes at the finale. I mean, Trevor Borger, I was shouting at the top of my lungs. It was one of the last races of the weekend. We knew it was going to come down to the
Michael.
It was winner take all with Perkins, and Trevor was not going to be denied. And he goes on the podium and talks about how meaningful it was and kind of his motivation behind it. His mother-in-law was sick, and they knew that this was going to be the only opportunity for him to try to win it, with her able to see it happen, and he gets it done. And you can see all the emotion from after them. I shared this clip on the Digging Deep pages, and you see the emotion after the fact from Porter, Dave Porter, his kind of team manager, owner of PRP, and his wife, and the bear hug and all of these things. It was just amazing. It makes the hair on my arm stand up right now. I was in the booth in the tower nearly crying. I did cry then after we threw it down to the podium. Like, I'm just so happy for just like, that's what you live for. Like that emotion is what, like that's like the peak of all of this. And I thought that was really cool. I had been literally thinking about that moto or that race all weekend long leading up to it, and that lived up to the hype. So congrats to Trevor. And I want to also say that we're thinking about him and his family, because his mother-in-law did pass since then. So we're thinking about those guys. What a story, and what a moment that was. Production A, they kind of filled me in as this race was heading to the line. The second moto, kind of a battle between Jeremiah Newton, Carter Buff, and Landon Korn. I think Landon Korn actually won the overall, but it was Jeremiah Newton that ends up winning the title. So that was super impressive. Mason Bostic clinched all three of the C classes, and I think he might have won 2 of the 3 overalls on the weekend as well. So he wins all the C classes. So that puts him in the conversation for the banquet for Amateur Rider of the Year. We saw that with Vinny Marinucci last year. So that'll be interesting. Jaden Powell, who's got an amazing story of his own. I think most of us know that. I talked about it on previous shows. I talked about it on the mic last year at Briarcliff, but suffered some gnarly injuries in the past and made a huge comeback and won some motos here and there since then. Wins the overall in the 250 mod class at Briarcliff. So that was an awesome moment, and just so many incredible moments. I mean, when you're in the announcer tower like that, you get to see every lap of every moto all weekend. And like, other than not having a voice by the end of it, I just like wanted more. And I was so bummed to not be able to race. Like, leading up to the event, I was still really trying to figure out a way to race and still announce and try to make it all work. But I knew I couldn't do all of it up to snuff. So obviously needed to make the decision to just announce. But yeah, what a weekend. It lived up to the hype. I mean, every storyline that we were kind of honed in on and focusing on lived up to what we expected it to be. I mean, I hated to not see Joel's undefeated season come to fruition, but he wins his title. Chad Wienen walks off with a win. Jeffrey and Janusa being in the mix. The WMX title was amazing. It comes down to the wire. The Pro Sport and Pro-Am titles come down to the wire. Like, it was just incredible. So what a way to end the season. Incredible. And I don't even know how we're already here and at the season's over for 2025, which is crazy to me. But the season finale lived up to the hype. And then for you guys too. I mean, highlights on the weekend, Brian's ripping hole shots. Billy was making a run. You know, he wins the 2-stroke Moto 1. Something happens Moto 2, and you didn't even really get to make any laps, or you did, but not really up to speed or safely. And then, you know, the 25 plus Moto 2, like, things are really interesting for a moment there. Like, you were going to make things really interesting, running some fast dry lines on the outside. And then that was all for naught too, Billy.
Yeah. In the 2-stroke.
Sunday sucked. Sunday just sucked for you.
Yeah, it wasn't a great day. Yeah, the 2-stroke, something was wrong with the petcock, and we don't really know. I came off the line and it died, and I couldn't get it started. My dad finally talked me into trying to start it again, and it ran, and then it was like off and on. So it ended up dying, and I pushed it back to his trailer. And if you like touched the petcock, he had one of them clear inline fuel filters on it. And if you like wiggled the petcock, it would fill. And then when you would like give it, full throttle, it would suck it dry. And if you wiggle it again, it would fill it back up. So I don't know, what happened with that. But in the 25 plus, I felt really good. And I thought I could make a run at Michael.
It looked like you were going to be honest.
Yeah, she blew up on me. There was zero compression after that.
It looked like it.
Yeah.
And Brian, you too, man. Like got some good starts. Was up in the mix. That was great to see.
I appreciate it. I didn't have the opportunity to ride like I needed to this year to put in the time. I spread a little too thin with
digging deep in these conversations.
No,
Sundays
I wish I think that makes me a better rider, honestly. But just the union commitments I had and the weather that we had with not being able to ride quite the way I wanted to and needed to, obviously, I felt like that kind of showed its ugly head. That, I had moments of my old self that I was there. I just I wasn't in the shape I needed to be. And credit to some of these other guys like Ernie Powers, phenomenal shape, was on it all year, came in dialed and just let it rip. So I should have been there. I just wasn't this year. And we'll try and work on it and get things squared away and figured out moving into next year. My man Billy here would have came back a little sooner, that I would have got some laps in with him and some track time. That honestly, back in the day, Billy was my good luck charm. So, it always helped having him on the track and being able to follow him. So, that brought back some really good memories too with the Bartosik race and then having Billy at Briarcliff and stuff. So yeah, that was some good memories, some good stuff. And, the racing family, as always, it's so important and meaningful. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every minute of it. I was happy to be out there. I was happy to rip some hole shots and, happy to be doing something that I love to do. So yeah, that was all good stuff.
That's good. Well, I appreciate all the time that both of you gave us this year, talking about the races and, bringing your insights. I appreciate that so much, especially at the races that I couldn't be at. And, this one got a little late on me. Like I said, I didn't have a voice there for a number of days after the weekend there on Briarcliff. And then I got sick
on Sunday.
Could probably still hear that a little bit. So like I was down, like I didn't have much of a voice, for the better part of the last 2 weeks. So I'm glad that you guys were willing to make this happen, because I didn't want to let it get any later. But yeah, we're not done yet. So we got we'll talk about Ponte Vu a little bit. That happened today. Congrats to Weenan and Nick Janusa and the Mason Jackson teams as well, both finishing on the podium. And then obviously we got the Quad Cross of Nations coming up. And then being that this is the Briarcliff season finale race review show, want to make sure that everybody knows that you are invited to our ride day, our Digging Deep annual Digging Deep ATV ride day at Briarcliff, happening early in October, on Saturday. Yeah, October 11th. That's Saturday, ATV only, wide open ride day. Hope you'll come and join us. We give some prizes away and other things like that. And it's that time of year where everybody wants to get together and be able to ride on a world-class track one more time for the season. So hopefully all our listeners will join us and be a part of that. But yeah, guys, I can't thank you enough for all your time, all your insights, all your expertise shared on the show so far this year. And I hope that we can get together some more and do this in 2026. So hopefully you guys will be down for it. A few more of these conversations as we look ahead. But again, I can't thank you enough for all your time and expertise shared here on the show, because it's been awesome. And I've loved these conversations, man. It doesn't get any better than this. This is what I do this for.
Yeah, man, I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely down for next year. It was my pleasure.
For sure. enjoyed it. I had a great time. Obviously talking with you guys, this is great. This is just like, any normal bench racing night at the track. I had a lot of people come up and compliment us and say a lot of nice things that, it was nice to listen to, and there was flow and chemistry and, a lot of good points and insights and everything. So, there was a lot of positives that came from it, and I enjoyed that and felt pretty proud of that, we were all doing our part to make that happen and keep everybody interested and excited about ATV racing. So credit to you, Cody, for doing this podcast and getting us out.
For sure.
We appreciate it. We're all thankful.
Well, I appreciate that a lot. As you know, a lot of time and effort goes into this whole thing, let alone, not only these conversations, but with all the editing we try to do after the fact to make it sound as good as it possibly can and make it sound like we know what we're talking about and all these things. And I've told you, Brian, a number of times, I love all the bench racing that it creates, because there's people that come up to you and want to pick up right where we left off on the show. They want to pick up and be a part of the conversation. And again, that's what this is all about. So to create the excitement, to fill in the listener, to educate the listener and give them more insight behind the scenes and all the things. I love it. So I love that we're filling some of that void. And like I said, we got some more things coming up with Quad Cross of Nations. We'll preview that. We'll review that. And then we'll start talking about 2026 and looking ahead to that. But for now, guys, I want to thank you again for all your time and being here again tonight. We'll look forward to doing this again in the future, but can't thank you enough for the season that we've had, and great job at Briarcliff. And like I said, can't wait to do it in the near future. But until then, we'll see you guys soon. Okay. Hopefully we'll see you at the Briarcliff ride day if we don't see you before that.
Right.
Sounds good, man.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Cody. Everybody have a good night.
Awesome, guys. Have a good night. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
See you guys. Man, I'm just going to say it. There may never be another finale like this one. Jeremy, the Osborne family, the Briarcliff crew, and so many talented riders set the bar so high. I don't know if we'll ever see this again. I'm so glad that I had a small part in it. Major thanks to Jeremy for the opportunity again this year. And it was so much fun reliving it with Billy, with Brian, and with you guys here today. Major thanks to tonight's featured guests, Billy Cottage and Brian Jenkins. Thanks to producer Dallas Jansen, my brother, for all his hard work. Thanks to my wife Brooke, and thanks to AMA official Harv Whipple. Special thanks to Motomom Designs for always killing it on the camera for us. Thanks to all of our partners, CST Tires. Go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Thanks to SSI Decals, Valvoline, DID Racing Chain, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, DP Brakes, Impact Solutions, Ultimate Poly Products, UPP Racing. Our choice when it comes to case savers, chain sliders, intake manifolds, and more. Use discount code DiggingDeep15 at uppracing.com and Manscaped to get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Support the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. Find it all on our website, and be sure to click that Rocky Mountain HVMC banner for all your gear and parts needs and to help us out. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. You can shop all of our Digging Deep merch at shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com. We'll have some with us for the Digging Deep Ride Day coming up on Saturday, October 11th at Briarcliff, so be there or be square. Find all things Digging Deep ATV Fantasy related, including season-ending standings at atvfantasy.com. You can leave us a voicemail and we'll play it on the show, and I will challenge you listeners now to leave us a voicemail for our next episode, recapping or giving your thoughts on this episode, on what we saw at the finale, on what we may see at the Quad Cross of Nations or in 2026, and maybe take it as your opportunity to bid farewell personally to Chad Wienen, Nick Janusa, Jeffrey Rastrelli. Leave a message for those guys. We'll play it on the next episode, and that way those guys will hear your words of respect, affirmation, maybe shared memories, all those things. So I challenge you to do so. Call in and leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the show, 920-569-3519. If you're looking for another easy way to help support us, visit our website and click the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee buttons. This allows you to set up a one-time or monthly contribution to support our efforts. Follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional content, coverage, and more fun stuff as we eye the 2025 Quad Cross of Nations, which we have some fun fun stuff going on with that. We have our ride day coming up, the banquet and award ceremonies, and all kinds of other fun off-season things. So stay plugged in with Digging Deep and follow us on all platforms. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and more. Wherever you find podcasts, you will find the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. All episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links, and discount codes, show merchandise, fantasy info, and more can all be found on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com. So check that out today. Be a friend, tell a friend. Please download, subscribe, rate, review, and share. And with that, for Billy Cottage, Brian Jenkins, Brooke Jansen, Dale Jansen, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen. Thanks for listening to and making us the most listened to podcast in ATV racing, with more than 287,000 downloads last month in 122 total countries. Until next time, thanks for joining us in Digging Deep with the Stars of ATV Motocross. But before we go, we have to do our annual ATV Motocross National Champion shoutouts before we sign off of this episode 165. We'll start by, of course, congratulating Joel Hetrick on his 2025 AMA ATV Pro Class National Championship. Congrats to Joey Norris, your AMA ATV Pro Rookie of the Year, as well as your Pro-Am National Champion. Congrats to Damian Hubert, your Pro Sport National Champion. Kinsey Osborne, your WMX National Champion. And the rest of your national champions are as follows, starting with Tyler Pagel in the Open B class, Mason Bostic in the Open C class, Casey Fancher 450A, Jaden Schiffer 450B, Mason Bostic 450C, Production A Jeremiah Newton, Production B Jaden Schiffer, Production C, Mason Bostic. College 16 to 24, Vincent Dillon. Junior 25 plus, Michael Perkins. Veteran 30 plus A, Trevor Borger. Veteran 30 plus B, Justin Canterbury. Veteran 30 plus C, Kyle Davis. Senior 40 plus A, Chase Cunningham. Senior 40 plus B, Justin Fisher. Senior 40 plus C, Jerry Turpay. Ernie Powers, Masters 50 plus AB. Matt Flint, Masters 50 plus C. Lillian Plaza, Women's 15 plus. Youth All-Star 14 to 17, Siler Paduznak. 250 Mod 13 to 15, Siler Paduznak. Schoolboy Senior 13 to 17, Siler Paduznak. Schoolboy Junior 12 to 15, Ethan Cornell. Super Mini Trevor Hughes. Lillian Plaza, Schoolgirl 13 to 17. Girls 8 to 13, Ada Paduznak. 90 Open 8 to 13, Ethan Cornell. 90 Automatic 8 to 13, Madison Shepard. 90 Shifter 8 to 13, Ethan Cornell. 70 Open 6 to 11, Dominic Wise. 70 Auto 6 to 11, Weston Nixon. 70 Shifter 6 to 11, Coy Jackson. 50 Open 4 to 8, Weston Nixon. 50 CVT 4 to 8, Gavin Bauer. And 50 Auto 4 to 6, Harvey Schroeder. So congrats to all of our 2025 national champions from all of us here at Digging Deep. Enjoy it. Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gus, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quad leaders are freaking gnarly.